Welcome back, troops. Let's Tab 59. Hope everyone's well. Look, if you're upright and breathing, you're halfway there. We're on a winner. So, out on an 8 miler today. First 8 miler for a while because I've had dodgy knee. Knee's all sorted now. Back in the game. So I thought I'd stretch it out today, 8 miles. So I want to talk to you about ranges, on the ranges. Now, some people hated going on the ranges running the forces. I particularly liked it. I like shooting, especially if it's a nice day. Gets you out of camp, on the ranges, bit of sunshine, banging some rounds down, converting some brass. So I want to talk to you about the ranges, types of ranges we had and have, and different things that go on the ranges with the military. And we'll touch on a few funny things as well with a bit of luck. So, on the ranges then, back in the day, when you started shooting, you were probably more than likely to shoot first of all on an indoor range, what we call a miniature range. So it's a 25 metre indoor range, and you would fire .22 rim fire, not air rifle, live firing, but only .22. Now, of course, back then we had the L1A1 7.62 self-loading rifle. You couldn't fire that on the indoor range, it wasn't allowed. So what they did was they had a conversion kit made by Heckler and Koch, and basically take the working parts out of the rifle, the SLR, and you'd insert this Heckler and Koch conversion kit. And that was probably done by the armourer or an instructor maybe. And that allowed you to fire the SLR, but with .22 ammunition. So that's a useful training aid. Along come the SA-80, and I think it was late 80s, early 90s, most of the indoor 2.2 ranges started to disappear. A lot of TA centres had them and maybe still have, and cadets forces, etc. But on the main, they were replaced with a system called SAT, Small Arms Trainer. But basically what that was is they ripped out the gubbins of the indoor range, the butt stop, etc., the old ballistic curtain and the metal sheeting at the back, replaced it with a computer system. So in there now, where the targets used to be, it's a big movie screen, great big movie screen, and you'd have a SAT operator in there. He'd be sat behind a desk with a big computer, not big computer, a computer, and you'd have your firing points, and you'd have specialist SA-80 rifles, same as a normal SA-80 rifle, but obviously it wasn't live firing, it had been messed around with. And coming out of the pistol grip of the SA-80 rifle was a couple of umbilical cords, tubes. One went to the computer system that allowed the operator to program in things into your rifle, like the amount of rounds you've got, because obviously you had just an empty magazine, a special magazine, and when he clicked that in, the operator could program how many rounds he wanted you to have in that magazine for this particular practice or shoot you were going to do. The other cable coming out of there went to compressed air tank, the central tank that fed all the rifles. So that when you operated the trigger, when you fired the rifle, the compressed air would be released, and that'd give you the recoil in the shoulder of the weapon firing for real. It's quite realistic, really. Now with the big screen, he could program in all sorts, a normal range, so you could have a 300 metre range, ETR range, gallery range, whatever you wanted. He could control the weather on that range. So you could change the wind for you, so you had to aim off sometimes, or the light levels, anything you liked. But he could also program in more interesting shoots like Fibia, fighting in built up areas. And of course, when you saw on the movie screen the enemy come to a window or a door or whatever, you could fire, and if you hit him, it would record that as a hit. So he would have all the information of that shoot, how well you've done. He could also program in stoppages into your rifle. So he could give you a stoppage halfway through your shoot, whatever. So it's quite a realistic system, and although it's expensive to install, you can imagine it saved a lot of money on driving troops out to the ranges for their initial shooting, and of course reduced the cost of live ammunition. Later on, the SAT ranges changed, they got upgraded and renamed and become the DCCT, a dismounted close combat trainer. And they added more weapon systems that you could fire inside that system. I've even seen Warrior or Scorpion scimitar turrets in there, 50 cals, pistols, machine guns, anything you like really. Depends on what that particular DCCT range has been set up, configured for. So really quite a good system. Moving on from that, we still got 25 metre barrack range. It's called a barrack range normally because it's inside the barracks. It's an outdoor range, but it'll be out on the grounds. Not every camp's got one, but they're dotted about. And it's a big brick wall. It's the backstop, if you like, with brick wings either side and some angled sand. You fire at 25 metres, you can go forward. Obviously you can use full bore. You can move forward to, I believe, 15 metres and maybe even 10 metres. So if you're doing pistol shoot, whatever, you can go forward for that, depending on what shoot you're doing. After that, you go onto your ranges proper. You normally get like a 100 metre group and zero range. Now these sort of ranges aren't normally on site. They're going to be on a range complex somewhere, such as Hythe. Hythe ranges down in Kent. It's quite a favourite if you've done some Northern Ireland training, OPTAG training. You would have gone to one of those type of ranges. 100 metre group and zero, 300 metre range for gallery or APWT, ETR, electronic target range. That's the targets at full when hit. Gallery range, that's the ones where you've got butts. So targetry has to be lifted up and down by somebody down the other end. So for those of you who don't know, you're sort of like behind a big backstop. It's quite safe. Overhead cover. Sit down on a bench, and in front of you it's a big iron sort of sliding up and down system, and the targets are fixed to that. And you have someone down there, the commander in the butts. He'll tell you target's up, and you stand up and you push the target up, put a little pin in, and the troops fire it and your target's down, etc. That's a bit of fun sitting in the butts. So, but the ETR ranges, of course, they're just figure 11 and figure 12, so full size running man, or head and shoulders of a running man, if you like, half target. And when you hit those, the target falls down, as long as you hit it. Or if you're crafty, it's a pebble range, you can shoot just in front of it, throw the pebbles up that and knock it down. So ETR range, say out to 300 metres, targets come up, down, etc. And you normally got a console. There's a small brick building back at the firing point, and in there will be the console operator. And it's his job or her job to set the targets up and down. And every time you knock a target down, it clicks up on the console, so they know what lane 1, 12, lane 3, washout. And then you know what you've hit on those ranges. Obviously, after all the purpose-built ranges, they're stages 1 to 3 firing ranges in the British Army, British Armed Forces. We've also got stages 4 to 5, which is field firing. Totally different subject, a bit more realistic as fire and movement, whole subject on its own. So that's the sort of ranges we had. Obviously got moving target ranges as well, and you've got anti-tank ranges. I'm talking about small arms. So feeding on the ranges. Now, so a lot of you veterans will remember this. A lot of the time, you went out on the ranges in the mornings, have your breakfast, get on the armoury, get your rifle, jump on a 4-tonner, and off you trundle to the ranges. You might be issued with CQMS to come out and we pick them up at breakfast maybe. A haversack ration, a horror bag, as we called it, basically a packed lunch. Little brown paper bag maybe, used to be a little white cardboard box at one time. And in there you get a curled up cheese sarnie, maybe a Kit Kat, packet of crisps, an apple or an orange, little carton or bottle of juice, some sort of drink, maybe a packet of biscuits. Nasty. But if you were lucky, especially out in Germany, Wolfgang would turn up. Now, those of you who don't know, out in Germany, Wolfgang was famous with the British Army. He had a Bratwurst van, basically a chip van, a burger van if you like. And he knew where you were, and he'd rock up on the ranges, pull up, open his little hatch up, and start knocking out chips and Bratwurst and whatever you want. But if you didn't have that, you were stuck with your haversack ration. It was pretty grim. Another good feeding system was the all-in stew, the range stew. Oh, I love the range stew. Rock up with your mess tin at lunchtime on the ranges, throw a slice of bread in the bottom, and pile a couple of ladlefuls of all-in beef stew or whatever it was. You never knew what meat it was, into your mess tin, and that was brilliant. That was you sorted. Now, another thing that could happen, and I witnessed a couple of these, maybe some of you guys have as well, is something that we termed in the Army and the British Forces as an ND. ND standing for negligent discharge. So basically, accidentally firing your weapon at a time when you shouldn't be firing it. That's a serious thing. I mean, obviously it's serious because you could maim or kill someone. But even if you didn't, even if you accidentally fired your rifle or whatever, and you didn't hurt anyone, you were going to get charged. You would get charged for that. You'd be up on CO's orders probably for a negligent discharge. It's quite a serious offence. And it does happen. Now, I never had an ND with live ammunition. However, I had an ND with blank ammunition and I got away with it. Check that out. So what happened? I'll tell you what happened. I went exercise, young soldier, about 17, nearly 18 years old. I think it was my first big exercise in Germany. I was stuck on guard in the daytime, in a trench, dug in on the corner of a track near the command post. And I had the Bren gun. Well, it wasn't a Bren gun, it was the LMG. It was a Bren gun converted to 7.62, and we designated that the light machine gun. Big old banana mag on top. So I'm in the trench with his Bren LMG, stagging on. And I started to get bored and started to fiddle with the safety catch and the trigger at the same time, like that, fiddling away like a twat. And yeah, pulled the trigger, safety catch was off, fired a burst of rounds, about 3 or 4 rounds, blank ammunition obviously. Of course, everyone come running out of the command post because they heard me fire the weapon. So straight away I shouted, "Contact, enemy front," and started carrying on firing. They all opened up as well. So they just thought I'd seen something. They thought I'd seen the enemy. So I got away with it. However, I did see a nasty ND. I saw a couple actually, but I saw one that was actually somebody did get injured. Now, I'm not going to name the regiment. They are infantry, not my regiment. Didn't have this colour berry. It was more of a reddish colour, more of a maroonish colour. Infantry battalion. Now I got asked, I was down at Shorncliffe running a specialist training team, and I got asked if I would, at the last minute, it was in the daytime, I got a phone call from this regiment who were only up the road from me at Shorncliffe, saying, would you come down this evening onto Hythe Ranges and be the range conducting officer for a night shoot, a section in defence or platoon in defence shoot. Now there's quite a lot in that. You've got to write a RASP, it's a range action safety plan. You've got to do lots and lots of all sorts of stuff before you can run a range. And I didn't really have time, I didn't fancy doing it, to be honest. So I made up an excuse and looked up with my eyeballs. I said, well, I'll tell you what I can do. I can come down and act as a safety supervisor. You need several safety supervisors, especially on a night shoot. So you've got like say a 10-lane shoot, 10 blokes in firing positions. You're going to want a few safety supervisors looking after 2 or 3 of the guys, just to make sure everything's safe. So he said, yeah, do that. So I rocked up to do that now. It was on a firing point, and they were in the kneeling position, I believe, firing down the ranges. Range conducting officers then shout, stop, apply safety catches, stand up, apply the safety catches, stood up. Remember, the rifles are still live, safety catches on. He then says, keep your weapons pointing down the range and dress into the fire trench to shoot from the firing trench. So what it's supposed to, obviously, is safety catches on safe, fingers off the trigger, keep the rifle pointing down the range, and carefully get into the fire trench for the next detail. Well, this lad decided to jump into the fire trench. But what he did, he had his finger through the trigger guard on the trigger, and as he jumped, of course the weight of the rifle and him is going into the trench, operated the trigger. But of course, 5.56. It done exactly what it says on the tin. It fired off, went through the back of his calf and out through the front of his leg, split his shin bone. Of course, it's amazing uproar. Luckily, it wasn't on my diesel. A few ran down from me. Of course, everyone runs down there. He's screaming a bit, obviously. Everyone's got a red torch. You couldn't see what was going on, really. But anyway, he got sorted out and carted away. The fallout from that was unbelievable. Whenever there's a negligence discharge on the ranges of the UK forces, they call up a team called LATE, Land Accident Investigation Team, something like that, the LATE team. And it's a small armed service school. They come up, and normally a major, and maybe a sergeant major with him, and they start to investigate how the incident happened. And then, of course, the weapon can get inspected by a REME armourer, and if they can find no fault with the firing system, then normally the blame lies with the operator, the rifleman, the one that's pulled the trigger. So that can be a massive fallout from that. So that's the sort of thing that can happen with an ND, a negligence discharge. So, of course, one of the other routine things that would have to happen on the ranges at the end of the detail, at the end of the range day, was picking up the brass. Remember that? Normally got your berry off, walk around the firing points, picking up all the empty cases. So you've been down at 100, 200, 300, wherever you've been, you'll clear all the empty brass. Once all that's cleared up and put away, you then get fell in to give your declaration. Now, when you're on a live firing range, you can't leave that range with any live ammunition on your person. Obviously, there's live ammunition there that gets taken away by the CQMS or whatever. But you personally can't leave that range, or you shouldn't leave that range, with any live ammunition or even empty cases. So you all get lined up. Normally take your magazines out, show the tops of the magazines. You've already done your NSPs, your normal safety procedure, so cock, hook and look, for inspection, port arms. Along comes a safety supervisor or whatever, range conducting officer, and he'll check each soldier's rifle is clear of ammunition. And he springs, fire off the action, and then he'll come to you, check the top of your magazines, you have your pouches open, he'll stuff his hands in your two ammunition pouches and make sure there's nothing in there. You come to attention and give him the declaration, I've no live rounds or empty cases in my possession, sir, or corporal or sergeant, whatever the rank of the guy that's taking it. That's your declaration. Well, actually in the British forces we even do that when you come off the training area. So you've been using blank ammunition and you've been on the training area running around the cuds. Before you leave that training area, same detail, you debomb, in other words you hand back any unused ammunition, blank ammunition or pyrotechnics, thunder flashes in Ardo, battle noise simulators, smoke grenades, stuff like that. Same thing, you'll come along for inspection, port arms, clear everyone's weapon, and the same thing, you come around the front. This time your declaration's a little bit different. It's I've no blank rounds, empty cases, pyrotechnics, or parts thereof. Or as we used to say, I've got no rockets in my pockets, no shamoolies in my ghoulies. So anyway, that's your declaration you have to give at the end of ranges and on exercises. So, if anyone's got any memories of their range days, I used to like it. Please let us know in the comments. Thank you to everybody out there that's been supporting me for these last, since July, August time when I started all this. As I always say, I really appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you because there'd be no point. No one's watching it, what's the point? But I'm getting a few views, and I think my subscribers now are about 7,000. Who'd have thought that? I can remember back in November asking you to get me up to 100 subscribers. I think I'm now at 7,000. Will YouTube pay me? I doubt it. But anyway, we'll see. I'll let you know on that front. So far, not a penny. But I'm not doing it for that, right? I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it for the crack. And we've got a good little community on the channel at the moment. So long may that live. And hopefully I'm going to be able to get to do a few more little interviews with people, with veterans. Try and hunt a few more veterans down that I know and ask them if they'll let me interview them. maybe get my interviewing skills a bit better. Okay, so nearly back home now. As I say, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, please consider it. Give me a thumbs up if you can. Until the next time, troops, as always, from this vast, desolate, plain Lincolnshire, let's tap.